Here, in a gravitational field, suppose one body is to move from here in a it is the gravitational field region. Here, one body having mass m is moving from one point to another point here. It is the initial point, it is the final point. Okay. At the initial point, whenever the body is there, then the initial potential energy of the system is ui, and gravitational potential at this initial point is vi. Whenever it is displaced to this point, then the final potential energy of the body whenever it is at this point is uf, and final gravitational potential is vf. Okay, then work done by external agent is equal to, or work done by external force is equal to final potential energy minus initial potential energy. uf can be written as, actually, in order to move the body from infinity to a point here, in order to move the body of mass m from infinity to this point in a gravitational field is stored in the body as the gravitational potential energy. So this is the gravitational potential energy. Then to bring the unit mass from infinity to that point, what is the gravitational potential energy means by m, that is equal to vf only now. That's why gravitational potential can be, if vf is the gravitational potential at this point, then uf is equal to vf into m we can write. At any point, if you know the gravitational potential, at that point whatever the mass kept, that gravitational potential into mass gives the gravitational potential energy at that point. That's why the final gravitational potential energy is equal to final gravitational potential at that point into mass. Similarly, initial gravitational potential at this point into mass m. So when you take m common here, this one, now it is the work done by external agent. Work done by gravitational force is how much in the same case when move the body from this point to this point? Work done by gravitational force or work done by gravity is equal to how much? Work done by gravity is how much? If you are having initial potential energy, final potential energy, then ui minus uf no, that is equal to here same vi minus vf you will get. It is the work done by gravity. Suppose on the equipotential surface, that means in a gravitational field, the locus of all the points which are at the same gravitational potential, that is called equipotential surface. In a gravitational field, the surface obtained by joining all the points, which is called the locus of all the points. The surface obtained by joining all the points, which is called locus of all the points, or envelope of all the points, which are at the same potential, that is called equipotential surface. So on the equipotential surface, here what is the nature of the equipotential surface means that depends on the nature of the body kept there. Depends on the nature of the body. What is the shape of the body, size of the body? Based on that, the equipotential surface depends. So in case of equipotential surface, on the equipotential surface, you move the body from one point to another point. From, suppose this is the equipotential surface. Suppose this plane of the body is the equipotential plane. On this equipotential surface, in moving the body from this point to this point, what is the work done? On the equipotential surface, in moving the body from one point to another point, what is the work done? As it is the equipotential surface, definitely here and here potentials are same. When potentials are same, then work done by external agent or work done by gravity, both are zero, no? Both are zero, no? Here suppose this is the equipotential surface. Here this is the equipotential surface. Equipotential surface. At any point, the gravitational potential remains the same. Vi, Vf, both are same. So Vi is equal to Vf. Okay. In order to move the body from on the equipotential surface, to move the body from one point to another point, what is the work done means? Work done is equal to zero. That means work done by gravitational force on the body in moving the body from this point to this point is equal to zero. Work done by work done by gravitational field on the body in moving the body from one point to another point on the equipotential surface is zero. That represents definitely the force due to gravity acts perpendicular to the direction of motion of the body at any point here. Suppose at this point we can move the body here, always we can move the body along the tangential direction to the equipotential surface here, because we can move the body along this path. At this point, what is its direction of motion means you draw a perpendicular line. So this is the direction of displacement. Whenever the force, gravitational force acts on the particle is perpendicular to this direction of motion of the body, then only the work done by gravity is zero. As the work done by gravity is zero on the equipotential surface, definitely the direction of motion of the body is perpendicular to this one. That means it is perpendicular to equipotential surface, no? That's why the direction of the gravitational field acts on the direction of the gravitational field is always perpendicular to equipotential surface. That is very, very important. So gravitational field is always perpendicular to gravitational field direction. Gravitational field direction, then only work done is zero. Gravitational field direction is always perpendicular to equipotential surface. Equipotential surface. This is very, very important. Suppose if the equipotential surface is a plane surface, then gravitational field is always perpendicular to this surface. This angle is 90. Here also this angle is 90. So the gravitational field direction or gravitational force acts on the particle is always perpendicular to the surface of the equipotential surface. Then only work done by gravitational field becomes zero. Okay, so this is very, very important point for IP point of view also. For IP point of view also, this point is very, very important. The gravitational field, the gravitational field is always perpendicular to the direction of the equipotential surface. Due to that only, when the body is moved from one point to another point on the equipotential surface, there is no gravitational force acts on the particle perpendicular to its direction. Due to that, no work is done by the gravitational field. No, in first year only. In first year gravitation, it is the first year chapter, no? In first year gravitation chapter only, for IP point of view, they may ask for 2 marks. They may ask for 2 marks, very short answer question. In that case, what is the work done by external agent or gravitational force on a body in moving the body from one point to another point on the equipotential surface? That means no doubt it is zero, because the gravitational field is perpendicular to the equipotential surface at any point. That is the answer for 2 marks. Okay, so this is very, very important point. Now, self energy. Previously, whenever two particles are kept at certain separation, two particles having masses m1, m2 are kept at certain separation, because of gravitational force between them or because of interaction force between the two particles, what is the gravitational potential energy stored in the two bodies, or what is the gravitational potential energy stored in one body due to other? Minus z m1 m2 by r, no? That is the interaction potential energy. That is the interaction potential energy between the two bodies due to force between them or due to interaction between them. But here in case of a given body, because of gravitational force of attraction among the particles of the same body, here gravitational interaction potential energy, of course we call this as gravitational potential energy, simply potential energy, unless they mention particularly potential energy means gravitational potential energy only, that is represented with U interaction or simply U interaction potential energy. Suppose initially a particle of mass m1 is kept at this point, which is gravitational free space. Here there is no gravitational field acts due to any other body. Now whenever no gravitational field is there, at that point in that gravitational free space, when you keep a body of mass m1 at this point, no work is to be done because there is no gravitational force due to any other. It is the gravitational free space. That's why we can keep this particle at this point, at any point here in the gravitational free space, without performing any work. Now, whenever this particle is kept at this point, then the region around this particle up to which gravitational influence acts is called gravitational field. So when you keep a particle here, definitely gravitational field is developed around this one. In that gravitational field, we have to bring another particle of mass m2 from infinity to a point in the gravitational field. We have to bring a particle of mass m2 from infinity to this at this point in a gravitational field formed due to this one at a distance smaller from this one. What is the work to be done? అంటే ఇన్ఫైనైట్ డిస్టెన్స్ దగ్గర నుంచి m2 మాస్ గల పార్టికల్ ని దీని వల్ల ఏర్పడిన గ్రావిటేషన్ ఫీల్డ్ లో స్మాలర్ డిస్టెన్స్ ఉన్న పాయింట్ దగ్గరికి తీసుకురావడానికి చేసే వర్క్ క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తే, అంటే గ్రావిటేషన్ ఫోర్స్ వల్ల జరిగే వర్క్ క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తే మనకి minus z m1 m2 by r వచ్చింది. That work done in bringing the m2 mass from infinity to this point in a gravitational field formed by this one is stored in the body as the gravitational potential energy. Of course, I have taken, I think I imagined as this is capital M, this is small m, then gm minus gm by r I got. It is general case. So it is the interaction potential energy. This is also called as the interaction potential energy. Interaction potential energy. Because of interaction due to this particle acts on them, some potential energy is stored in the system of two particles. So this is the potential energy stored in this particle due to this, or it is the potential energy stored in this particle due to this. That's why it is the interaction potential energy. But these two are different particles. But in a given body, because of internal gravitational force of attraction acts on one particle due to other particle, some energy is stored in the particles of a same body. That is called the self energy. That is called the self energy. Okay, so we have to derive the formula for self energy of a given body. So how we can derive self energy? Gravitational self energy, or simply self energy. Gravitational self energy, U self. That means whenever the bodies are having some dimensions, then only that is having self energy. For point masses, self energy can be neglected. Okay, so here suppose you see there is a solid sphere. In case of solid sphere, I am going to derive the formula for self energy. Solid sphere. In case of a solid sphere, what is the self energy stored? It is the solid sphere whose center is say O and radius capital R, mass capital M. But actually, before forming the solid sphere, or before forming any planet, before forming any planet, because of gravitational forces of attraction among the particles, all particles comes closer like this, and so that a planet is formed or a star is formed. A star is formed. Similarly, here also, because of gravitational force of attraction among the particles, the particles comes closer. Due to that, one solid sphere is formed like this, like Earth or any star like that. Okay, so here self energy means, suppose already at certain instant of time, already a solid sphere is formed. Already a solid sphere is formed with radius small r and mass say small m. Here, because of gravitational force of attraction among the particles of a given body, already a solid sphere of radius small is formed. Because of gravitational force of attraction exerted by this solid sphere formed on the other, the particles comes closer and they stick on the surface of them. That's why after some time, the radius of the solid sphere increases to capital R. So here, among the particles of the same body, due to gravitational force of attraction among the particles of the same body, whenever the solid sphere is formed of radius capital R, mass capital M, in such case, what is the energy stored among the particles in the same body, not different body? That's why such type of energy possessed by all the particles in a body is called the self energy of a body. Self energy of a body. So here, suppose at certain instant of time, whenever there is a solid sphere of radius r is formed, whose mass is say small m, at the time, because of gravitational force of attraction exerted by this solid sphere on the other particles, suppose in after certain time, suppose another additional layer is formed due to attraction of the particles. Additional layer is formed whose thickness is say dr. Whose thickness is say dr. Already at certain instant of time, there is a solid sphere of radius smaller, mass m is formed already. After some time, some more time, due to the gravitational force of attraction exerted by this solid sphere on the particles around them, those particles also comes close to each other, so that they stick over the surface of this solid sphere, existing sphere. Due to that, the thickness of the layer formed over the surface of the solid sphere is equal to say dr. Mass of this layer element is mass of the solid sphere, mass of the element formed or mass of the element formed over the surface of the solid sphere is a dm. In order to form this element having thickness dr and mass dm over the solid sphere of radius r, whatever the work done, that is the energy stored in this element. So in order to form the solid sphere of radius capital R, what is the energy stored in the among the particles in the solid sphere? That is the self energy. So first of all, what is the self energy stored in this element? Self energy stored in the element. Self energy stored in an element. du is equal to here already over the existing solid sphere of radius, r and mass m. Of course, mass m is not given. We imagine capital M and capital R only given. Okay. So what is the gravitational potential over the surface of the solid sphere? On the surface of the solid sphere, suppose the gravitational potential is say V. To this point where the gravitational potential is V, on the entire surface of the solid sphere, gravitational potential is V only, no? To this point, on this on every point on the surface of the solid sphere, to bring the mass dm from infinity to this point, what is the work to be done? That work done is stored in the ball, this element as the gravitational potential energy. That work is equal to gravitational potential at that point into mass m, no, dm, no, mass of the element formed over this one is dm, no. This is equal to V means minus z into mass of that small solid sphere by radius smaller into mass of the element dm. This is the self energy stored in this element. Okay, but here this self energy stored in the element du is equal to minus gm by, we are having r into dm. So this is called minus z by r into what about m? M is the mass of this one, mass of this solid sphere. But we are given this mass. So what is the density of this entire solid sphere? Capital M by 4/3 pi capital R cube is the density of the entire solid sphere, no? That means mass per unit volume is this one. Then what is the mass for this much volume is into 4/3 pi small r cube. 4/3 pi small r cube. It is the mass of the sphere. Okay, by R, of course, into mass of the element formed. What is the mass of the element? Here you see the surface area of the element, as it is the element, inner radius, outer radius, both can be treated as the same. That's why the surface area of the element is 4 pi small r square into thickness dr gives volume into density. Density means this only. Into density means m by 4/3 pi r cube. It is the density. So volume into density of the element gives mass of the element dm. Okay. Now you say 4/3 pi cancel. Here 4 pi can be cancelled. Remaining. So this is equal to minus, here you see this 3 goes to numerator. So 3 minus 3 z into capital M into capital M square. Okay. Here r square r to the power of 3 means r to the power of 5 by r. That means r to the power of 4 by, here capital R cube is there, here capital R cube is there, capital R to the power of 6. It is the self energy stored in the element considered here. Okay, therefore, if this is the self energy stored in this element, this type of elements can be imagined from small r is equal to 0 to small r is equal to capital R, no? Then what is the total self energy? Therefore, U self is equal to integral du between the limits small r is equal to 0 to capital R. So that is equal to integral du means minus 3 capital Z capital M square by r to the power of 6 into, sorry, here dr is there, no, into dr. So into dr. Okay, this is equal to, therefore U self is equal to, you see, minus 3z capital M square by capital R to the power of 6 is constant, you keep aside. Here r to the power of 4 is also there, no, r to the power of 4. Therefore minus 3 capital Z capital M by m square by r to the power of 6 you keep aside. Integral r to the power of 4 dr, limits small r is equal to 0 to capital R. So that is equal to minus 3 capital Z capital M square by r to the power of 6 into r to the power of 4 integration r to the power of 5 by 5, limits 0 to capital R. Therefore minus 3 capital Z capital M square by r to the power of 6 into here r to the power of 5 by 5 minus, when you substitute lower limit you will get 0. So I don't want to write here. R to the power of 5, this 6 cancel. Therefore U self is equal to self energy stored in the solid sphere is equal to minus 3z Kaplan square by 5r. That is equal to, suppose on the surface of the solid sphere, if acceleration due to gravity is small g, then gm square can be written as, you see, small g is equal to capital G capital M by r square, no? Then gm by r can be written as small g into capital R. Gm by r minus 3 by 5 into gm by capital R can be written as g small g capital R into m. So capital M z r. We can write like this also. Gm by capital R can be written as z into capital R. So g into capital R. Here m is there. So m minus 3 by 5 minus 3 by 5. So this is the formula for self energy stored in the solid sphere. Even in case of earth also, that earth can also be treated as the solid sphere. That's why what is the self energy stored means this one. No, this type of elements can be imagined from 0 to capital R. We can imagine the same type of element here also, no? So this here we can imagine the element from r is equal to 0 to r is equal to capital R. That's why you have to integrate from r is equal to 0 to r is equal to capital R. It is for uniform solid sphere only. Uniform solid sphere only. Okay. 4 by, you see, here in order to write the mass of this element considered here, mass of the solid sphere, the entire mass is given and radius capital R is given. That's why mass by volume gives density, no? It is the density of the solid sphere. Then what is the mass of this solid sphere of radius small r means volume into density. Density means this one into volume. Volume is 4/3 pi small r cube. It is the mass of this solid sphere, small m. Okay, into mass of this element means density m by 4/3 pi r cube into volume of this element. Volume of the element means surface area 4 pi small r square into thickness dr. That is the volume of this element considered. Volume into density of the solid sphere gives mass of the element dm. Okay. Right. So this is the formula for self energy. Suppose there are two solid spheres. Suppose there are two solid spheres separated by certain distance smaller. Note point. Suppose this is one solid sphere, this is another solid sphere of radii r1, here r2, and the centers of the two solid spheres are separated by a distance say smaller. Masses are m1 and m2. Then what is the potential energy of the system of these two solid spheres separated by distance smaller means, as the dimensions of this solid sphere and this solid sphere are given, then they are having self energy also. If the dimensions are negligible, if it is a point mass is kept from this solid sphere, a point mass is kept. What is the potential energy stored in the particle means simply minus z capital M small m by distance smaller. That's all. But here it is not the point mass. It is also having some dimensions. That's why it is. So what is the potential energy of the entire system means? What is the potential energy of the entire system of two spheres means self energy of these two spheres and interaction potential energy between these two spheres. That's why total potential energy is equal to self energy of the solid sphere plus interaction potential energy between these two, interaction potential energy plus self energy of this one. It is the solid sphere, it is the solid sphere. That's why self energy of this one means already we are having formula. So by that formula, you write the self energy of the sphere. Okay, now self energy for this solid sphere minus 3 capital Z m1 square by 5r1. It is the self energy. Interaction potential energy between these two is equal to minus z into m1 m2 by distance between them is smaller, plus self energy in this is minus 3z m2 square by 5 into radius r2. This is the total potential energy of the system of two solid spheres separated by certain distance. If it is point mass, it is having no self energy. Only the system consists of interaction potential energy between them and self energy possessed by this solid sphere. If it is the point mass, okay, in that way you have to write. Okay, shall I erase this one? Shall I erase? In case of hollow spheres, there is no matter inside them. That's why only on the surface, that is equal to minus gmm by r only. Right. Now, planetary system. Planetary system. We know in case of a solar system, in the interstellar space, in the solar system, all planets revolve around the sun. Because of gravitational force of attraction between the planet and the sun, the gravitational force of attraction between the planet and the sun provides the necessary centripetal force. Yeah, we have to take the self energy also. When applying the conservation of energy principle, we have to take the self energy also. Suppose on left hand side, right hand side, if the same formulas are to be written initially, finally, they cancel. That's why we need not write in such cases. We need not write in such cases. Okay, his video is properly reaches you or not, you respond. Remaining people, you please respond. Okay, Karthik, you check your system. Right. So here, because of gravitational force of attraction between the planet and the sun, every that force, gravitational force of attraction, provides the necessary centripetal force for the planet to move along the elliptical path around the sun. So, how they move around the sun? In order to describe them, in order to describe the motion of the planets in a solar system, of course, different scientists introduced different theories. Okay, geocentric theory, heliocentric theory. Okay, geocentric theory means here they said that the Earth is at the center and remaining all planets revolve around the Earth. That is geocentric theory. Similarly, heliocentric theory. Okay, every planet revolves around the sun in an elliptical path. In a circular path. Here, Tycho Brahe, he was the teacher of Kepler. Tycho Brahe, he was the teacher of the Kepler. Okay, he introduced the heliocentric theory and he said that every planet revolves around the, of course, by huge calculations, by lengthy calculations, with the help of the law of conservation of energy, law of conservation of angular momentum, law of conservation of linear momentum. In this way, with the help of the different conservation principles, Tycho Brahe studied the motion of the planets in the interstellar space. Before concluding the, before concluding the before writing the experimental results, before saying the experimental results, he was died. Tycho Brahe అతను చేసిన ఎక్స్పెరిమెంట్స్ యొక్క రిజల్ట్స్ అన్నిటిని వాటిని సార్ట్ అవుట్ చేసి ఫార్ములాస్ రూపంలో ఇంట్రొడ్యూస్ చేసే టైంలో ద టైకో బ్రహీ వాజ్ ఎక్స్పైర్డ్. అయితే అతను స్టూడెంట్ కెప్లర్ ఉన్నాడు కదా, ఆల్రెడీ ద కెప్లర్ he was the student of Tycho Brahe. Then as he observed closely the experiments made by the Tycho Brahe, he observed with the help of those observations made by the Kepler from his teacher. Okay, in addition to some more observations, Kepler introduced the Kepler's laws to describe the motion of the planets, planetary motion. Okay, so Kepler's laws. First law, Kepler's first law. Every planet revolves around the sun in an elliptical path. Every planet revolves around the sun in an elliptical path with sun at one of the focus points, because every ellipse is having two focus points. Every elliptical path is having two focus points. Suppose this is ellipse. It is the midpoint of the ellipse. Of course, here this line is called major axis because the maximum length, if you draw a line so that maximum length is there between the two farthest points of the path, that line is called major axis. And here it is the minor axis, minimum distance between the two positions of the elliptical path. ఎలిప్టికల్ పాత్ రెండు పాయింట్స్ మధ్య మినిమం డిస్టెన్స్ ఏదైతే ఉంటుందో ఆ మినిమం డిస్టెన్స్ ఉండే పాయింట్స్ ద్వారా పాస్ అయ్యే లైన్ మైనర్ యాక్సిస్, farthest points ద్వారా పాస్ అయ్యే లైన్ దట్ ఈస్ ద మేజర్ యాక్సిస్. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ ద మేజర్ యాక్సిస్ అండ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ద మైనర్ యాక్సిస్. Here it is the midpoint of the ellipse or geometric center. Okay, from the geometric center up to the farthest point, the farthest point of the elliptical path from the midpoint, that is called apogee. That point is called apogee. Apogee. Nearest point. Okay, here we keep like this. This is not apogee. You don't think this as apogee. So first of all, here this is the half of the major axis. That's why it is called semi-major axis. It is the semi-minor axis. The length of the semi-major axis is A. Length of the semi-minor axis is say B. Okay, this ellipse consists of two focal points, foci, plural, foci or focal points. One focus point is here. One focus point is here. Another focus point is here. There are the two focus points F1 and F2. There are two focus points F1 and F2. Here, what are the focus points of the ellipse? Focus points of the ellipse means the focus points of the ellipse are chosen such that the two focus points are chosen such that any point on the elliptical path, suppose if you consider any point here, the line here, the length, the distance of the sum of the distance of this point from this first focus point and second focus point, the sum of these two must be constant. అంటే ఈ రెండు ఫోకస్ పాయింట్స్ ని తర్వాత ఎలిప్స్ లో ఉన్న ఏదైనా ఎలిప్టికల్ పాత్ మీద ఉన్న ఏదైనా ఒక పాయింట్ ని రెండింటిని జాయిన్ చేసి ఈ లైన్ అవుట్ తీసుకోండి, ఈ లైన్ అవుట్ తీసుకోండి, ఇదొక లైన్, ఇదొక లైన్. దిస్ లెంత్ ఇస్ L1, దిస్ లెంత్ ఇస్ L2. L1 plus L2 is the total length of the or sum of the distances of the same particle from the two focus points. Adi L1 plus L2. You take another point here. You take another point. Then the line joining this point and this focus point and this point and this focus point. The sum of these two lengths is also equal to this length only. In such a way, the focus points are chosen. So focus points means these are the points on the semi-major axis. These are the points on the major axis which are chosen such that the sum of the here on any point on the elliptical path, the sum of the distances of any point on the elliptical path and the two focus points, that must be constant. In such a way, these 2 points are selected, which are called focus points. That's why it is one focus point, it is another focus point. Yet one of the focus points, the sun exists according to Kepler. So according to Kepler, he said that every planet revolves around the sun in an elliptical path with sun at one of the focus points. Suppose here sun is there. Here sun is there. Sun is at one of the focus points. The mass of the sun is Kepler. Okay. Suppose here planet is there, any planet of mass small m. So every planet revolves around the sun in an elliptical path with the sun at one of the focus points, maybe here or maybe here, at any one of the focus points. Okay, now the distance of the, so in this case, from the sun, the farthest point is this one and the nearest point is this one. The farthest point on the elliptical path from the sun is this one. It is called apogee. Apogee. And the nearest point on the elliptical path from the sun, it is called perigee. It is called perigee. Okay, this perigee is say A and apogee is say B. Apogee B. Here, the distance of this apogee from the sun, this distance, that is the maximum distance, that is R max. Maximum distance of the any point on the elliptical path from the sun, that is R max, and minimum distance is this one, that is R minimum. R minimum. Okay, of course, this R minimum is say R1, R maximum is say R2. Okay, next here, the distance of the sun from the midpoint of the ellipse. This is say, this distance is say C. This distance is C. It is the center O. This distance is C. Okay. This is midpoint of the ellipse and this distance is equal to C. Now, regarding the, here, what is the area of the ellipse? Area of the ellipse is what? Area of ellipse. Area of the ellipse is equal to what? Tell me. Area of the ellipse. What is the area of the ellipse? Area of the ellipse. Pi AB, no? Pi AB. Pi AB means semi-major axis, semi-minor axis. So pi into A into B, it is the area of the ellipse. Suppose if AB are equal, that becomes a circle. Then pi A square is the area of the circle. If A is equal to B, okay, already we know. So it is the formula for area of the ellipse. Okay, now what about the eccentricity? Eccentricity of the ellipse means that is the ratio between the distance of the sun from the midpoint of the ellipse C to the semi-major axis means A. Distance of the sun from the midpoint of the ratio between the distance of the sun from the midpoint of the ellipse to the semi-major axis, that is called the eccentricity of the ellipse. That implies, of course, this is very, very important formula. So from this, C is equal to, we can write A into E, no? C is equal to A into E. Now you see, R max is equal to, R max can be written as, R max means this one, no? A plus C is R max, no? You see, A plus C is equal to maximum distance of the planet from the sun, that is R max. So R max is equal to A plus C, but C is equal to A, you know? That's why A plus C means A into E. This is, therefore, R max is equal to, you take A common, A of 1 plus E. It is the eccentricity. Okay, this is equation 1. This is a equation 2. Minimum distance R minimum is equal to what? In terms of A and C, how we can write? Minimum distance means this one. This is equal to A. This is C. A minus C is the R minimum. No? That's why A minus C is the R minimum. A minus C means AE. C means AE. Therefore, R minimum is equal to A into 1 minus E. This is equation 3. That is equation 3. Okay, next, semi-latus rectum. Semi-latus rectum. Semi-latus rectum. That is L. So semi-latus rectum L is equal to, you see, whenever the planet is moving along the elliptical path like this, at the instant whenever the line joining the position of the planet and the sun is perpendicular to the major axis, at that time the distance of the planet from the sun, that is called the semi-latus rectum. Semi-latus rectum is the perpendicular distance of the given planet from the sun, whenever the line joining the position of the planet and sun is perpendicular to the major axis, major axis ki perpendicular ga planet ni sun ni join chese line unnappudu aa time lo distance of the planet from the sun, that is called the semi-latus rectum. Of course, we are not having the all formulas. Some important formulas I want to discuss here. Okay, semi-latus rectum is equal to b square by a. Semi-latus rectum is equal to b square by a. B square by a means b is the semi-minor axis, a is the semi-major axis. B square by a. Okay, now this is another equation. 4. R maximum we got a into 1 plus c. R minimum is equal to this one now. So R max by R minimum. R max by R minimum is equal to R max means a into 1 plus e. R minimum means a into 1 minus e. We got here. A cancel. Then you do cross multiplication. R maximum into 1 minus e. Cross multiplication. A cancel. R max a cancel. R max into 1 minus e is equal to R minimum into 1 plus e. Now you multiply with R max. R max minus R max into e is equal to R minimum into 1, R minimum plus R minimum into e. Okay, now you bring e terms one side and remaining terms other side. R minimum you bring to left. Then R maximum minus R minimum is equal to R minimum into e plus R maximum into e. Therefore, e you take common, R maximum plus R minimum. Therefore, eccentricity can be written as e is equal to R maximum minus R minimum by R maximum plus R minimum. Eccentricity is always less than 1. This is another relation. Suppose if you are given the distance of the apogee from the sun or farthest distance of the planet from the sun and nearest distance of the planet from the sun, then what is the eccentricity? Eccentricity means c by a, no? C by a. That means distance of the sun from the midpoint of the ellipse to the semi-major axis. That is the ratio is called eccentricity. R maximum minus R minimum by R maximum plus R minimum. This is the formula for eccentricity. Okay. ఓకే, ఫోకస్ పాయింట్. ఫోకస్ పాయింట్ అంటే ఇందాక చెప్పే మీకు ఎలిప్టికల్ పాత్ మీద యూ చూస్ ఎనీ పాయింట్, యూ చూస్ ఏ పాయింట్ హియర్ ఎట్ ఎనీ పాయింట్, ద లైన్ జాయినింగ్ ద distance of the line joining the position of the point and this one of the focus point. ఈ ఫోకస్ పాయింట్ ని ఈ పాయింట్ ని జాయిన్ చేసే లైన్ యొక్క లెంత్, ఈ పాయింట్ ని ఈ ఫోకస్ పాయింట్ ని జాయిన్ చేసే లైన్ యొక్క లెంత్, సమ్ ఆఫ్ దీస్ టూ లెంత్స్ that remains constant for any point on the elliptical path. Such those 2 points which follow this condition are called the focus points. And ikkada 2 focus points are chosen such that the sum of the distance of the any point on the elliptical path from the 2 focus points that remains constant. So those 2 points are called focus points. Okay, Sriram. Right. Okay, now here this is one relation. Suppose if you are given R max and R minimum, how semi-major axis can be formed? R maximum, R minimum ichandi, semi-major axis kanukovali. Etla? R maximum plus R minimum is equal to 2a kada. R maximum plus R minimum is equal to a plus a ante 2a. R maximum plus R minimum is equal to, we can write 2 into a, or a is equal to R max plus R minimum by 2. So this is also one more formula for semi-major axis. If you are given R max and R minimum, okay, it is another formula. Next, semi-latus rectum. Semi-latus rectum is equal to, we have written here now, b square by a. Semi-latus rectum L is equal to b square by a. So what about b value? Semi-minor axis. Semi-minor axis, that is equal to b, no? Here semi-latus rectum L is equal to b square a by a. One more formula is also there. I think in our mathematics we are having ellipse. Separate chapter is there. In that ellipse chapter you will be discussed everything, I think. Okay. So lattice rectum is called b square by a, that is equal to a square into 1 minus e square whole by a, that is equal to a into 1 minus e square. L is equal semi-lattice rectum, L is equal to b square by a, that is equal to a square into 1 minus a square by a, which is equal to, of course, a square cancel, a into 1 minus e square. These are the formulas for different formulas for semi-lattice rectum. Okay, here this can be written as, you see, L is equal to a into a square minus b square. It is just like a square minus b square. That's why we can write 1 plus e into 1 minus e. That is equal to 1 minus e square only. So this can be written like this. So this is equal to L is equal to a into 1 plus e means, you see, a into 1 plus e means that is R max. So we can write R max. We can write R max. A into 1 minus e means we can write R minimum into a into 1 plus e is equal to R max. Therefore, 1 plus e is equal to R max by 2, no? R max by 2. Therefore, lattice rectum is equal to R minimum into R maximum. Of course, by a, no? R maximum by a. It is also formula for semi-lattice rectum. This is 7. So these are the different forms of the semi-lattice rectum. But what about a value in terms of R max and R minimum? In terms of R max and R minimum, what about a? R maximum is equal to this one, R minimum is equal to this one. Okay, when you subtract this and this, R max minus R minimum, what it gives, tell me? R max minus R minimum gives what? R maximum minus R minimum. Or you add them, R maximum plus R minimum gives what? R maximum plus R minimum is equal to 2a, no? R maximum is a into 1 plus e, R minimum is a into 1 minus e. When you add them, e will be cancelled. Here, R maximum plus R minimum is equal to 2a, you will get. Then a is equal to R, L is equal to R maximum into R minimum by a can be written as R maximum plus R minimum by 2. By 2 means into 2. This is also formula for semi-lattice rectum. These are the different forms of semi-lattice rectum. These are the different forms for semi-lattice rectum. Okay, that's all. These are the different formulas. You have to remember all these formulas. So this is the Kepler's first law. So according to Kepler's first law, every planet revolves around the sun in an elliptical path with sun at one of the focus points or one of the foci. That is the first law. And every planet revolves around the sun in an elliptical path because of gravitational force of attraction between the planet and the sun. Here, this is the planet. It is the planet. It is the Kepler's first law. Okay, next, Kepler's second law. Shall I write this one? L is the semi-lattice rectum. Semi-lattice rectum means the perpendicular distance of the planet from the sun, which is perpendicular to major axis. That is the semi-lattice rectum. Okay. Where B is minimum, B is not minimum, B is the semi-minor axis. The length of the semi-minor axis is considered as B. Okay. Next, Kepler's second law. Kepler's second law. Suppose this is the ellipse. Semi-major axis, semi-minor axis. It is the apogee. It is Perigee. Here at one of the focus points, sun is there. Here sun is there. Sun. Okay. Suppose here at certain instant of time, the planet of mass small m is at this point. Then the line joining the position vector of the planet with respect to sun is this one initially. Initially, the position vector of the planet with respect to sun is this one. After some time, the same planet, as the planet is moving along this path, after some time, the planet reaches the point here. Okay, then position vector of the planet with respect to sun after some time dt seconds is say this one. Okay, then the area bounded by this planet in a time dt seconds is the area bounded by these two position vectors of the planet. That is say dA. This area covered is say dA. So in a time dt seconds, the area covered by this radius vector. Radius vector means position vector of the planet with respect to sun is also called as the radius vector. The area covered by the radius vector in a time dt seconds is dA. dA ante the area of the shade part, that is dA. And initially the radius vector is here when planet is here. Whenever the planet comes to this position after some time dt seconds, the radius vector is this one. Then what is the area covered by radius vector, or what is the area swept out by the radius vector in a time dt seconds? In a time dt seconds, what is the area swept out by radius vector? That means this shade part, that is the area covered by the radius vector, or area covered by the area swept out by the radius vector in a time dt seconds. Then what is the area swept out by the radius vector per second? What is the area swept out by the radius vector per second is what? Area swept out by the radius vector or covered by the radius vector per second means dA by dt. That is called aerial velocity. That aerial velocity is dA by dt, which is equal to constant according to Kepler's second law. So the aerial velocity of the radius vector remains constant. That is the Kepler's second law. So according to Kepler's second law, the aerial velocity remains constant. Okay, or area swept out by the radius vector per second. Area swept out by the radius vector per second remains constant, or aerial velocity remains constant. Here this formula was obtained by the Kepler with the help of the law of conservation of angular momentum. So this Kepler's second law is the consequence of or result of Kepler law of conservation of angular momentum. So Kepler's second law is the consequence of or result of law of conservation of angular momentum. Law of conservation of angular momentum. Okay, now suppose if the same planet, when at certain instant of time, whenever the same planet is here, at certain instant of time, same planet is say here, then this is the position vector. Okay, after some time, here at certain instant of time, the planet is here. So this is the position vector of the planet. It is the position vector of the planet. Okay. Now, in a time dt seconds, the planet reaches the point here. Then this is the position vector. The area swept out by the radius vector is equal to this one. Area swept out by the radius vector is equal to this one in a time dt seconds. Then this area by this dt is the aerial velocity. Aerial velocity remains constant. That's why this area both must be same. This is also equal to dA only, because the time interval is same. Here dt. That's why this area and this area both must be same. Then only aerial velocity remains constant. Okay. So it is the consequence of the law of conservation of angular momentum. Okay. Now from this diagram, area swept out by the radius vector we have to calculate. Area swept out by radius vector. Area swept out by or covered by radius vector. Area swept out by radius vector. You see, in a time dt seconds, this is the area covered. How we can find this area? How we can find the area? Tell me. Suppose the distance of this planet from the sun is say smaller. That means this can be treated as the mean distance or average distance of the planet from the sun side. Okay. Then what about the area covered? This angular displacement of the planet, in a time dt seconds is a d theta. Then now you tell me area covered by the radius vector. This area of the shaded part. Area of the shaded part means it is just like a triangle, because in dt seconds this distance is very small. Almost all it is a straight line like this. Almost all it is a straight line. In a small interval of time, the displacement of this planet on the elliptical path is very small. But in order to show in order to represent in diagram, I have taken with more distance. Otherwise, it would be very nearer to this point here. Then it is almost all a straight line. Then half base means smaller into height. This height is equal to small h, say. So height, small h. Therefore, dA is equal to half into small r into height. Means from this diagram, how we can write height? Height is equal to, in terms of d theta, you write. In terms of d theta, you write height. This length of the arc and this height almost all same. That's why we can write d theta is equal to arc by radius. D theta is equal to arc means this height by radius means it is the mean radius you take. Mean radius r. Therefore, here r h is equal to r into d theta. We can write now r into d theta. Therefore, dA is equal to half r square into d theta. It is the area swept out by the radius vector in a time dt. Therefore, aerial velocity dA by dt. Aerial velocity dA by dt is equal to half r square d theta by dt. Whatever d theta by dt, dA by dt is equal to r square into d theta by dt means in a time dt seconds, the angular displacement of the planet with respect to sun is d theta. That's why d theta by dt is the angular velocity of the planet with respect to sun. That's why r square omega by 2 we can write, since d theta by dt is equal to angular velocity. So aerial velocity is equal to, therefore aerial velocity dA by dt is equal to, we can write 1 by 2 r square omega. We can write, suppose if the speed of the body, if the speed of the planet at that instant is say v, then v is equal to r omega. We know v is equal to r omega because we have considered the mean distance. That means average distance we considered. Average distance means it is r minimum, it is r maximum. So average means r minimum plus r maximum by 2. That is the average distance I have taken. So it is the mean distance or average distance. Here only you write r is the small r, mean or average distance. Mean or average distance of planet from sun. Okay. Omega means v by r. We can write v by r. R square cancel. Therefore, that is equal to, omega, half r square into omega means v by r. Okay, you see here, dA by dt is equal to, we have half r square into omega. That is equal to half r square into omega can be written as speed of the planet by r with respect to sun. R square cancel. That's why this is equal to half VR. We can write now half VR. So these all are the formulas for aerial velocity. This is constant. So therefore, according to Kepler's second law, aerial velocity dA by dt. Okay, dA by dt is equal to, aerial velocity dA by dt is equal to half r square omega. Half r square omega we can write, r VR by 2. Half VR we can write. In any other form we can write. Only in terms of v omega we have to write. Instead of 1 r into omega can be written as v. Instead of 1 r into omega can be written as v. Okay, instead of r we can write v by omega now. V by omega, v square by omega square. That means v square by 2 into omega we can write now. That is also equal to v square by 2 into omega also. These are the different forms of the aerial velocity. This is equal to constant. This is equal to constant according to Kepler's second law. You see, from this formula, dA by dt is equal to half V into R. That is equal to constant we know. Suppose mass of the planet is say small m, mass of the sun is say capital M. You multiply with the mass of the planet. You multiply with the mass of the planet and divide with the mass of the planet. MVR by M. It makes no difference. Then MVR is equal to 2m into constant, means as mass of the planet does not change while moving around the sun in an elliptical path, then m is constant. So 2m is constant. 2m, this 2m which is constant into another constant gives another constant. What is MVR? What is MVR? MVR gives what? MVR gives what? MVR centripetal force. Is MVR centripetal force or centrifugal force? Angular momentum. Because momentum into perpendicular distance, you see, mass of the planet m into v, that is the momentum. Momentum into perpendicular distance r, that is the angular momentum. No, that's why this is equal to angular momentum, capital L, angular momentum. That means from this aerial velocity only, aerial velocity is called constant according to Kepler's second law. From that I shown the angular momentum is constant. Indirectly, by taking angular momentum constant, we can show aerial velocity remains constant. No, that's why Kepler's second law is the result of law of conservation of angular momentum. So from this, VR is equal to constant. This is very, very important point. VR is also equal to constant. VR is equal to constant means V1 R1 is equal to V2 R2, where R1 R2 are the perpendicular distance of the planet from the sun and V1 V2 are the speeds. Sometimes will be given at the apogee, if the speed of the planet is V1, if it lies at the perigee, what is the speed? They may ask. Perigee దగ్గర speed ఎంత అంటాడు. Already this R maximum, R minimum will be given. Okay, at the apogee, speed will be given. At perigee, what is the speed means by using that formula, because the perpendicular distance of the planet from the sun means this is perpendicular distance only. This is perpendicular distance only. That's why when you know the perpendicular distances, then V1 R1 is equal to V2 R2. These R1 R2 are the perpendicular distance of the planet from the sun. So R1 R2 are perpendicular distances of planet from sun. Suppose if the planet is here, then the direction of velocity is in this direction. No? So what is the perpendicular distance of the planet in this case? You extend this line in backward direction. From this point, you draw a perpendicular line onto this one. This is the perpendicular distance R. In such case, we have to write that R. Perpendicular distance of the momentum of the planet from the sun, that is R. R into MV, that is the MVR. So in this, we have to write the perpendicular distance only. That is very, very important point. So according to Kepler's second law, we can write like this also. Okay, next. So Kepler's second law is the result of law of conservation of angular momentum. That is very, very important point. Okay, half R square omega, half VR, V square by 2 omega. All are the next R. One more formula we got now. dA by dt is equal to, we got another formula also. dA by dt is equal to, we got half R square theta also. No? Half R square theta. Theta means angular displacement. So this can also be written as half R square. No, that is the area swept out is equal to half R square theta. Okay, these are the formulas, different formulas. Okay, now in this formula, what about R? Mean distance R, no? What is the mean distance? Mean distance of planet. Mean distance of planet from sun. small r is equal to, here I said number of times r is the mean distance like that. So what is that mean distance? Mean distance is equal to, already I said orally, r maximum plus r minimum by 2 is the mean distance. R max plus r minimum by 2. That is the mean distance of the planet from the sun. Okay, now here in terms of angular momentum, how we can write the same formula? dA by dt is equal to, I will erase this also. Okay, so here you see dA by dt is equal to, here I got half VR. No, you see here, you multiply with m and divide with m. M into VR by 2 into m. Mm cancel, VR by 2 you will get. But mvr is equal to L, no, by 2m. That is also aerial velocity. Okay, therefore dA by dt is equal to, we can write half r square omega, that is equal to half v into r, that is equal to v square by 2 omega, that is also equal to L by 2m, that is equal to constant. It is the aerial velocity, or it is the Kepler's second law. That is the Kepler's second law. Okay, once it was given in mains, here the following option represents the Kepler's second law. Then in the options it is given that L by m, 2L by m, L square by m, L by 2m. So Kepler's second law means L by 2m only, no? So that is the answer. In such a way it is given in mains once. Aerial velocity is equal to dA by dt means, already I said the definition of aerial velocity, no? Area covered by the radius vector per second is called aerial velocity. Area covered by the radius vector per second is called aerial velocity. Suppose here, initially when the planet is here, this is our radius vector of the planet, or position vector of the planet with respect to sun. In dt seconds, this planet comes to this position. So position vector or radius vector come to this position. What is the area covered by this radius vector when planet move from this point to this point? Means this shaded part is the area covered or area swept out in a time dt seconds. Then that is say dA. Then dA by dt, area covered by the radius vector in a time dt is dA. Then what is the area covered by radius vector in a second means dA by dt. That is called aerial velocity. That is called aerial velocity. Okay. Right. Next, Kepler's third law. It is very, very important. Based on these problems are there. Next, Kepler's third law. Here almost all, every planet, according to Kepler's third law, every planet almost all revolves around the circular path around the sun with sun at center. Almost all, not exactly, almost all. So every planet revolves around the sun in a circular orbit or in a circular path around the sun with the sun at the center. Suppose the planet is here. Mass of the planet is capital small m and the mass of the sun is capital M. It is the sun, it is the planet. The radius of the circular path is smaller. It is the mean radius we can take. Mean radius of the planet around the sun. Okay, we can take the mean radius. Here, according to Kepler's third law, Kepler said that every planet revolves around the sun almost all in a circular orbit with the sun at the center. With sun almost all, actually along the elliptical path, but almost all we can take whenever this A and B are almost all equal, nearer to equal. In such case, we can say circular path. So the gravitational force of attraction between the planet, sun and planet provides the necessary centripetal force for the planet to move along the circular path, where r is the mean distance of the planet from the sun. Because actually the planet is not travel along the circular path around the sun. That's why you take the mean distance. When you consider the mean distance, then we can take the circular path. In such case, the gravitational force of attraction between the planet and the sun, gmm by distance square or mean distance square, that provides the necessary centripetal force for the planet to move along the circular path around the sun. This gravitational force of attraction acts on the planet towards the sun or towards the center. That's why this provides the necessary centripetal force, which is equal to mv square by r we can write. where v is the speed of the planet in its orbit. Speed of the planet in its orbit is say v naught. That's why v naught square mv square by r. R that is equal to mr omega square. We can write r that is equal to m into v into omega. These all are these here the gravitational force of attraction between the planet and the sun provides the necessary centripetal force. Okay, from this, what is the time period of the planet moving around the sun? Time period of the planet they asked. So from g capital M small m by r square is equal to, from this formula, mr into omega means angular speed. This angular speed can be written as 2 pi by time period of the planet around the sun. Square we can write now. Omega ante 2 pi by t writes, where t is the time period of the planet around the sun. Ante time taken by the planet to complete one rotation along the circular path around the sun. That is called time period. Omega can be written as 2 pi by t. Square is there, square. Here small m cancel. Okay, therefore g capital M by small r square into r, that means small r cube, is equal to 4 pi square by t square. That implies t square is equal to 4 pi square into r cube by z into capital M. Okay, therefore t is equal to root of 4 pi square something. 4 pi square can be written outside, so it becomes 2 pi into root of r cube by g into capital M. This is the formula for time period of the planet around the sun. Okay, here where r is the mean distance of the planet from the sun. R is the mean distance of the planet from the sun. R, mean distance of planet from the sun. From sun. Mean distance means r maximum plus r minimum by 2. That is the mean distance. Already previously I have written. Okay, this is the formula for time period of the planet around the sun. From this you see gm is constant for the given. No doubt for the planetary system gm is constant, 2 pi is constant. That's why we can write t is proportional to root r cube, or t square is proportional to r cube. No, t square is proportional to r cube. We can write t square is proportional to r cube. That means square of the time period of the planet around the sun is directly proportional to cube of the mean distance of the planet from the sun. This is the Kepler's third law. So according to Kepler's third law, the square of time period of the planet from the square of time period of the planet around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of mean distance of the planet from the sun. ఇందా చెప్పే కదా నాన్న, మీన్ డిస్టెన్స్ అంటే ఆర్ మాక్సిమం ప్లస్ ఆర్ మినిమం బై 2 అని చెప్పే కదా. నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ టైమ్స్ మెన్షన్ చేయడం ఇంకా అక్కడ ఇందా చెప్పాను ఆల్రెడీ. ఇప్పుడు జస్ట్ నౌ ఆల్సో ఐ సెడ్ మీన్ డిస్టెన్స్ ఆఫ్ ది ప్లానెట్ ఫ్రమ్ ది సన్ అంటే ఆర్ మాక్సిమం ప్లస్ ఆర్ మినిమం బై 2 అని చెప్పా. ఒక 10-20 టైమ్స్ నోట్ చేస్తున్నాడు ఇక్కడ. Already I wrote here, you see mean distance of planet from the sun is here only. So according to Kepler's third law, square of the time period of the planet around the sun is directly proportional to cube of mean distance of the planet from the sun. Suppose if you draw the graph between t square and r cube, by taking r cube along x-axis and t square along y-axis, what is the nature of the graph you will get? T square is directly proportional to r cube means what is the nature of the graph between t square and r cube? You will get a straight line passing through origin. You will get a straight line passing through origin. Okay, next. Suppose time period is along y-axis and r to the power of 3 by 2 is along x-axis. What is the nature of the graph? If t square is proportional to r cube means t is proportional to r to the power of 3 by 2 only, no? That's why again you will get a straight line. T is proportional to r to the power of 3 by 2. That's why you will get a straight line passing through origin. That is one more relation. Okay, next. So these are the graphs between t and t, r to the power of 3 by 2 and t square and r cube. Okay, now so this is the Kepler's third law, no? It is Kepler's third law. Okay. Now, based on these laws, we can find the angular moment of the planet, time period of the planet, etc. Next, the same laws can be applied when satellites makes revolutions around the planet. The bodies which can travel around the sun, they are called planets. The geometrical body, the bodies which can travel around the sun, they are called planets. The bodies which can travel around the planets, they are called satellites. There are man-made satellites are there, naturally occurred satellites are there. Moon is the natural satellite to the Earth. Whatever the satellites we projected to make that bodies which can make rotations around the Earth to fulfill our needs, they are called artificial satellites. They are called artificial satellites. Moon is the natural satellite to the Earth. Every planet, almost all every planet consists of 2 or more natural satellites. Okay, so Moon is the natural satellite to us for the Earth. Okay, next. So satellite means a body which can rotate, a body which can travel along the circular path around the planet. That is called the satellite. Okay. The man-made satellite is called artificial satellite. So in case of artificial satellite, generally the satellites are projected in the orbit around the Earth such that they lie in the equatorial plane. Equatorial plane means generally the satellite is projected to make rotations around the Earth in equatorial plane with a time period equal to time period of rotation of the Earth, because Earth rotates about the polar axis. No, Earth rotates about the polar axis. I am telling approximately. So Earth rotates about the polar axis. So when you make the satellite, you see, suppose this is the Earth. This is the Earth. These are the two poles of the Earth. Okay, Earth rotates about this polar axis. Polar axis means the line passing through the two poles of the Earth is called polar axis. About the polar axis, when Earth rotates here, the plane passing through center and perpendicular to the polar axis, that is called equatorial plane. So the satellites are generally projected on the surface of the Earth so that it makes rotations in the equatorial plane. ఈ ఈక్వటోరియల్ ప్లేన్ లో ఎర్త్ చుట్టూ రొటేషన్ చేసేట్టుగా అరేంజ్ చేస్తారు. And moreover, the time period of this satellite is called geostationary satellite. The satellite which is projected so that it makes rotations along with the Earth about the polar axis, such that the time period of rotation of the Earth is same as the time period of the satellite here. Such type of satellite is called geostationary satellite. So what is the time period of rotation of the Earth about its polar axis? 24 hours. That's why time period of the geostationary satellite is also 24 hours. It is approximately at a height 36,000 kilometers from the surface of the Earth. The height of the geostationary satellite, the height of the geostationary orbit. Geostationary orbit means the orbit around the Earth in which the geostationary satellite rotates is called geostationary orbit. The height of the geostationary orbit from the surface of the Earth is approximately 36,000 kilometers. The radius of the Earth is 6,400 kilometers. So what is the radius of the geostationary orbit? Means 6,400 plus 36,000. That is the radius of the geostationary orbit. That is also called as the parking orbit. Whenever the satellite makes rotations in a geostationary orbit, the time period of the satellite and time period of the rotation of the Earth both are same. That's why relative angular velocity between these two is 0, as the time periods are same. That's why always the geostationary satellite is always seems to be over ahead of us on the surface of the Earth. ఎప్పుడు చూసినా కూడా రెండు సేమ్ స్పీడ్ తో రొటేట్ అవుతాయి కాబట్టి ఏ టైంలో చూసినా కూడా మనకి మనం ఇక్కడ సపోజ్ ఇండియా ఇక్కడ ఉందనుకోండి, ఈ శాటిలైట్ కూడా ఓవర్ ద హెడ్ ఆఫ్ ది ఇండియానే ఉన్నట్టుగా ఉంటుంది, ఎందుకంటే రెండింటికి స్పీడ్ సేమ్ కాబట్టి. యాజ్ ద యాంగులర్ స్పీడ్స్ ఆఫ్ ది టూ ఆర్ సేమ్, relative angular velocity of the geostationary satellite with respect to Earth is 0. That's why always the satellite seems to be over the head of the India. In such a way, the satellites are generally projected. Otherwise, it gives the information of the others. It will become a crime. Okay. So now, in case of satellite, whenever it is rotating around the Earth in a particular orbit, Earth rotates from west to east. So satellite also rotates from west to east only. ఎర్త్ వెస్ట్ నుంచి ఈస్ట్ వైపుకి రొటేట్ అవుతుంటుంది ఇట్లా, కాబట్టి శాటిలైట్ కూడా వెస్ట్ నుంచి ఈస్ట్ వైపుకి రొటేట్ అయ్యేట్లుగానే అరేంజ్ చేస్తారు. నెక్స్ట్, ఇన్ కేస్ ఆఫ్ శాటిలైట్, వెనెవర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ మేకింగ్ రొటేషన్స్ అరౌండ్ ద ఎర్త్ ఇన్ ఏ పర్టికులర్ ఇన్ ఎనీ ఆర్బిట్, then whatever the speed of the satellite in that orbit, that is called orbital speed of the satellite. So I am going to discuss about orbital speed of the satellite. Orbital speed. Suppose almost all you imagine Earth as a sphere, solid sphere. Okay, radius of the Earth is capital and mass capital M. When here a satellite is projected horizontally with certain velocity v0, so that the satellite makes rotations around the Earth in the circular orbit. Such horizontal speed with which the satellite is projected so that it makes rotations around the Earth is called orbital speed of the satellite. Suppose ఇక్కడ orbital speed దీనికంటే తక్కువ ఉందనుకోండి, when you project the satellite with a velocity less than orbital velocity, then because of gravitational force of attraction, the satellite travel like this and they fall onto the surface of the Earth only if velocity is less than orbital velocity. So at what minimum velocity whenever the satellite is projected, so that it makes rotations around the Earth in a circular orbit, such speed is called the orbital speed of the satellite. The orbital speed of the orbital velocity, escape velocity, there are two types of velocities are there. These two are very, very important for 4 marks in IP point of view. Okay, objective lo kuda important, but IP point of view lo kuda important ikkada. So here the horizontal velocity with which the satellite is projected so that it makes rotations around the Earth in an orbit is called orbital speed. Suppose the height of the orbit is say small h from the surface of the Earth, then radius of this orbit is a small r. Small r is equal to capital R plus small h. No. Now you see, whenever the satellite is making rotations, mass of the satellite is a small m. Whenever the satellite is making rotations around the Earth in this particular orbit of radius small r, then the gravitational force of attraction acts on the satellite due to Earth, that is equal to capital G, mass of the Earth capital M, mass of the planet small m, satellite small m, by radius of the orbit square, that means r square, which is the distance. No, planet ki tarvata Earth ki madhya gala distance adi radius of the orbit ki equal kada, kabatti gravitational force of attraction acts on the satellite due to Earth, that is equal to gmm by r square, which provides the necessary centripetal force for the satellite to travel along the circular path around the Earth. That's why this is equal to centripetal force. Centripetal force means we can write mv square by r, mr omega square, like that. M is square by r. V means speed of the satellite in this orbit, that is taken as v0 square by radius r. Okay, r cancel, cancel. Therefore, v0 square is equal to, we can write G capital M by small r. No, small r means capital R plus small h. We can write because small r is equal to capital R plus small h. No, okay, v0 square is equal to this one, or v0 is equal to this one. This is equal to root gm by small r. It is the formula for orbital speed of the satellite. It is the general formula for orbital speed of the satellite. Whenever the height of the satellite is very small compared with the radius of the Earth, radius of the Earth తో కంపేర్ చేసినప్పుడు satellite యొక్క height, surface of the Earth నుంచి satellite యొక్క height very small అనుకోండి. If ఎందుకంటే మనకు మినిమం స్పీడ్ కావాలిగా, so if h is very small compared with r, in that case h can be ignored. In such case the orbital speed is equal to g under root of g capital M by r only. But on the surface of the Earth, if the acceleration due to gravity is small g, then small g is equal to, we can write gm by r square. No, then v0 is equal to root Gm by capital R can be written as small g into capital R. No, it is the formula for orbital speed. Suppose if the height of the satellite is considerable when compared with radius, in such case we have to use the formula here, this one. If height is very small compared with radius, then the formula for orbital velocity is this one. Okay, here on the surface of the earth, g is equal to 9.8 meter per second square, and radius of the earth is equal to 6400 kilometer. You convert them into meter and you substitute here, and if you simplify them, approximately you will get 7.92 v naught. When you substitute these two values here, then we can have v naught is nearly equal to, of course, v is equal to 7.92 kilometer per second. It is nearly equal to 8 kilometer per second. It is the orbital speed of the satellite. Orbital speed of the satellite. Okay, time period కావాలనుకోండి, time period of the satellite కావాలనుకోండి, ఇదే ఫార్ములా కాకపోతే mr omega square రాసుకుంటాం. అప్పుడు mr omega square అంటే ఇందాక వచ్చిన టైప్ లోనే వస్తుంది. ఆ టైం పీరియడ్ కావాలి అనుకుంటే gmm by small r square is equal to mr omega square. r cancel, sorry, mm cancel, then omega square is equal to g capital M by r cube, or omega is equal to square root of gm by r cube. It is the angular speed of the satellite in its orbit. Small r is equal to capital R plus capital H, we can write this is equal to gm by capital R plus small h whole cube. Time period kavali, this is equal to 2 pi by capital T, because angular velocity omega is equal to 2 pi by t, no? So therefore t is equal to 2 pi into root of gm by r cube, we can write. Okay, that is equal to 2 pi into root of gm by r plus h whole cube. If h is by far less than capital R, then time period is equal to 2 pi into root of gm by r cube, gm by r cube. That is equal to 2 pi into root of gm by r square can be written as acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the earth by radius of the earth capital R. This is the formula for time period of the satellite. Okay, g value 9.8, r value 6400 kilometer. You convert them into meter and you substitute them, and if you simplify them, you will get approximately 89.4 minutes, I think 89.4 minutes. Of course, it is not here. Yeah, 84.6 minutes. Sorry, 84.6 minutes you will get. For Earth only I am telling. For any other planet that may be changed. For Earth, g is equal to 9.8 and r is equal to 6400 kilometer. When you substitute here and simplify them, then you will get 84.6 minutes. It is the time period of the satellite moving around the Earth nearer to the surface of the Earth. That is the time period. Okay, next. Next, escape velocity. Escape velocity. From the surface of any planet, with what minimum velocity a body is to be projected along vertical direction or at any angle of projection? With what minimum velocity the body is to be projected so that it escapes from the gravitational influence of the any planet? అంటే ఒక బాడీని ఇక్కడి నుంచి ప్రొజెక్ట్ ఎంత మినిమం వెలాసిటీ ప్రొజెక్ట్ చేసినప్పుడు ఇట్ గోస్ అవే and it overcomes the gravitational influence of the planet or earth. That is called the escape velocity. The velocity, the minimum velocity with which a body is projected so that it becomes free from the gravitational influence. It becomes free from the gravitational influence is called the escape velocity. For Earth, escape velocity is approximately 11 km per second. And for the Sun, on the surface of the Sun, escape velocity is approximately 620 km per second. Okay, now we have to derive the formula for that. Here, suppose on the surface of the Earth, the gravitational potential energy is minus z capital M small m by capital R, plus when you project the given body with a velocity VE, so that the kinetic energy is half m into VE square, where V is the escape velocity. The total energy of the given body on the surface of the Earth to escape from them is this one. This is called binding energy. It is called binding energy. So whenever this binding energy becomes zero, then the body escapes from the gravitational field of this planet or Earth. In such case, this velocity is called escape velocity. So from this, g capital M small m by capital R is equal to half m into VE square. Mm cancel. Okay, therefore VE square is equal to 2 capital G capital M by R, or VE is equal to under root. This is the formula for escape velocity. This is also equal to square root of, since on the surface of the Earth, if the acceleration due to gravity is z, small g is equal to, we can write gm by capital R square now. Then capital Gm by capital R can be written as z small g capital R. So instead of gm by r, you write small g capital R. So 2zr. This is the formula for escape velocity. It is the formula for escape velocity. Okay, when you substitute the g value, where g is equal to 9 for Earth, g is equal to 9.8 meter per second square, and radius of the Earth is equal to 6400 kilometer. When you substitute this information, this data here, and if you simplify them, then you will get escape velocity is nearly equal to 11 kilometer per second. This is the formula for escape velocity. On the surface of the moon, escape velocity is nearly equal to 2.4 kilometer per second only. On Sun, escape velocity is approximately 620 kilometer per second. 620 kilometer per second. That means how large escape velocity on the surface of the Sun we can imagine. Next, on the surface of the moon, escape velocity is approximately 2.4 kilometer per second. Here, this is somewhat less. That's why on this is main cause for atmosphere not present over the surface of the moon. సర్ఫేస్ ఆఫ్ ది మూన్ మీద అట్మాస్ఫియర్ లేకపోవడానికి రీజన్ అంటే ఎయిర్ పార్టికల్స్ అవన్నీ కూడా ఇక్కడ ఎయిర్ ఉన్నట్టుగా అక్కడ ఎయిర్ ఉండదు. ఆన్ ది సర్ఫేస్ ఆఫ్ ది మూన్ దేర్ వాస్ నో అట్మాస్ఫియర్, యాజ్ ద ఎస్కేప్ వెలాసిటీ ఆన్ ది సర్ఫేస్ ఆఫ్ ది మూన్ is 2.4 km per second, whereas the root mean square velocity of the different particles in the atmosphere over the surface of the moon at the temperature is greater than this one. Whenever the particles are having velocity greater than escape velocity, all those particles escapes from the surface of the moon. No, that's why there is no atmosphere over the surface of the moon. Yes, as Jupiter has no. When compared with the planets, of course, on the surface of the Jupiter, it may escape velocity may be greater than any other planet, but on the Sun it is large, very large. I am talking about the Sun. No, it is on the surface of the Sun. This is the star. On the surface of the star, the escape velocity is very large compared with any planet. Okay. So this is the escape velocity. Okay, this can be written in terms of this one or in terms of this one. Based on the information given, to calculate the escape velocity, we can use this formula or this formula. Now, what is the relation between escape velocity and orbital velocity? So, note points we have to discuss. Note points. Note points I want to discuss now. First one, suppose this is the planet. Planet means generally, as we are on the planet Earth, it is the mass of the Earth, radius of the Earth, it is the center. one satellite is making rotations around the Earth in an orbit. The height of the orbit is negligible. Height of the orbit is negligible compared with the radius of the Earth. Suppose this orbital velocity say v0. This is height h. Height is very small compared with radius of the Earth. That's why orbital velocity is equal to, we can write root gr only. And from this orbit, in this orbit, one satellite is making rotations around the Earth in particular orbit here of radius smaller. Radius of the orbit is say smaller. Small r is equal to actually r plus h. But as h is very small compared with r, this can be written as capital R only. Okay. From this orbit, whenever the satellite is making rotations with orbital speed v0, at the time, in order to escape the satellite from this orbit, what should be the increase in speed of the satellite? So the increase in speed of the satellite to escape from this orbit, increase in speed of satellite, increase in speed of satellite to escape from its orbit. Delta V is equal to, you see, actually in its orbit it is having orbital velocity. To escape from this orbit, the velocity of the satellite must be increased to escape velocity at this point. That means the increase in velocity of the satellite to escape from them is VE minus V0. And V0 nunchi escape velocity kanaka increase aithe, then it escapes from the orbit. So this is the increase in speed of the satellite. This is equal to, suppose when height is very small compared with radius, then this can be written as root 2gr minus this can be written as root 2gr. Then you take root gr common. When you take root gr common, then root 2 minus 1. That is equal to root gr of root 2 minus 1 means 1.414 minus 1. That is equal to 0.414 into root gr. This is the increase in speed of the satellite to escape from that orbit. It was asked in mains. Okay. What is the increase in speed of the satellite in its orbits to escape from the orbit? Means 0.414 into root gr. Of course, if the value is given, root gr is equal to, we can write approximately 8 km per second. You substitute here and simplify them, you will get the value. Okay, that question they asked previously once. So that is one problem. Or we can keep as it is like this. Delta V is equal to root gr means orbital velocity into root 2 minus 1. We can write like this, we can keep like this also. It is first note point. Okay, next, what is the percentage increase in speed of the satellite to escape from the orbit? What is the percentage increase in speed of the satellite to escape from this orbit? Percentage change in the velocity they asked. Here, change in velocity delta V by initial velocity V0 into 100. That is the percentage change in velocity to escape the satellite from its orbit. Ante ee orbit lunchi satellite escape kavalante what should be the percentage increase in speed they asked. Speed must be increased from V0 to VE. So what is the percentage increase in speed? Means VE minus V0 is the increase in speed by initial speed V0. Delta V means VE minus V0 only, no? Delta V is called VE minus V0 by V0 into 100. Delta V means this one. Delta V is equal to, we can write this one, no? V0 into something, no? So V0 into root 2 minus 1 by V0 into 100. V0 cancel. Root 2 minus 1 means 0.414 into 100. That is equal to 41.4%, no? Therefore, delta V by V0 into 100. So percentage increase in speed of the satellite to escape from its orbit is equal to 41.4%. That is also important one. Suppose if the speed of the satellite in its orbit is less than orbital speed, if third one, it is okay, it is second one. Next, third one. If speed of the satellite is less than orbital speed, suppose the speed of the satellite is less than orbital speed, then the satellite travel along the parabolic path and reaches the surface of the Earth. Already, whenever the satellite is here, we can apply the law of conservation of linear momentum. Whenever the satellite is here, we can apply the law of conservation of linear momentum. In last class, I said the problem based on this. At this point, what is the speed they asked? By applying law of conservation of linear momentum here and here about the center of the Earth, we can find the speed at this point. Speed at this point will be given. already we did one problem. So in last week assignments, 3 assignments I have given. In those 3 assignments, which problems are related to last week's syllabus I marked. So remaining problems you have to see for this week today. Today assignment means only today homework problems means first you do those remaining problems, and today I kept one more assignment. So you have to see these problems also. Okay, solutions are also there. If there are any some critical problems are there, in next class I will discuss. Okay. Next, fourth note point. Suppose v less than v less than v naught. V less than v naught, the body travel along parabolic path, I said. Suppose v is equal to v naught, circular path, the satellite travel along the circular path around the earth or planet. Suppose if v naught less than v that means the velocity of the satellite is greater than orbital velocity but less than escape velocity. Then the satellite travel along elliptical path. Elliptical path. If v greater than escape velocity, then hyperbolic path. The satellite travel along hyperbolic path. These points are also very, very important. When the speed of the satellite in its orbit is less than orbital velocity, then it travels along the parabolic path and reaches the surface of the earth. If equal to v naught, circular path. If it is in between v naught and ve, travel along elliptical path. It is greater than ve, then hyperbolic path and they escapes from the surface of the earth. Okay. Next. Once it was given in advance, I think. Suppose it is a sun. Earth is here. It is the earth. It is the earth. Okay, you listen the case. In online 2014 exam, they asked India's Mongolia was sent to Mars by launching it to transfer the orbit from okay, here one satellite is making Mongolian or one satellite makes rotations around the sun, say. Of course, this is a Earth or any planet. Okay, here while making rotations around the Earth here, the satellite is made to transfer to the another orbit. The satellite is made to, oh, okay, sorry. Here Earth is there, here Earth is there, here another planet is there, another planet, some more planet. One body is making rotations from one body making rotations around the Earth with certain time period. If it is projected onto the this another planet here, then what about the time period? Here, whenever this planet is making rotations around the sun here, time period is a T1. In this orbit, time period is a T2. Already we know time period, square of the time period is directly proportional to R cube, no? Suppose this distance is a R1, this distance is a R2. Then T1 by T2 whole square is equal to R1 by R2 whole cube. So by using this formula, we can calculate if the time period of that body in this orbit is T1, in this orbit, what is the time period? Means In this orbit, time period is T1 and the radius of this orbit is R1. In this orbit, whenever this satellite enter into this one, then time period is T2, radius of the orbit is R2. Then by this relation, we can calculate. Next, energy of the satellite. Last, oh, can you spend 10 minutes? Can you spend 10 minutes? 5 minutes at least. 5 minutes. Energy of the satellite we have to discuss. Last one, simple one. Energy of satellite. As the satellite makes rotation, here we see, this is the Earth of radius R and height of the orbit of the satellite is H. Here satellite of mass M is making rotations with orbital speed V0. Then whenever the satellite is here in its orbit, it is having some speed, orbital speed, it possesses kinetic energy. So kinetic energy of the satellite, K is equal to half into mass of the satellite small m into orbital velocity square, that is equal to half m into V0 square, means orbital speed is equal to square root of gm by small r. No, the radius of this orbit is say small r, then we can write gm by small r. No, because root gr, here gravitational force of attraction between the satellite and the earth provides the necessary centripetal force. Gmm by r square is equal to mv square by r square cancel, then mm cancel, then v square is equal to gm by r, or v is equal to root gm by r only. No, so it is the orbital speed. Then kinetic energy is equal to half m v0 square, that is equal to half m into v0 square, means we can write gmm by r, gm by r under root, square is there, root will be cancelled. So g capital M small m by 2r. It is the kinetic energy of the satellite. Potential energy of the satellite, kinetic energy say K, potential energy say U. U is equal to potential energy of the satellite due to Earth, that is equal to minus Z into mass of the Earth or mass of the planet into mass of the satellite by radius of the orbit small r. Radius of the orbit small r minus gmm by r. It is the potential energy. Total energy of the satellite. Total energy E is equal to kinetic energy plus potential energy. Kinetic energy means this one, no? G capital M small m by 2r. Potential energy minus G capital M small m by r. Then total energy is equal to minus G capital M small m by 2r, we can write now. That means the total energy of the satellite and kinetic energy of the satellite both are numerically equal. So numerically kinetic energy and total energy both are equal. The potential energy is numerically equal to half of the, the kinetic energy is numerically equal to half of the potential energy, you know, because potential energy is minus gmm by r, but numerically it is gmm by r. Kinetic energy is half of this value, that's why by 2, that's why modulus of u by 2. Now last point, 1 minute. Suppose here satellite is in this node point. Last point, total energy of the satellite is minus gmm by 2r. That is very, very important. Okay, now last node point here in this, it is Earth of mass m, radius capital R. It is the radius of the orbit of the satellite. Now I want to displace the satellite from this orbit to this orbit. I want to displace the satellite from this orbit to this orbit. What is the work to be done? What is the work to be done by external agent? So in this orbit total energy say E2, in this orbit total energy say E1. Then the work done by external agent is equal to E2 minus E1. Final energy minus initial energy. Final energy means in this orbit total energy means minus Z capital M small m by radius R2. No, this orbit is having say radius R2. That's why 2R2 minus of initial energy of the satellite. Initial energy of the satellite means total energy minus Z capital M small m by 2R1. Therefore, that is equal to G capital M small m of by 2 of 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2. This is the work to be done by external agent to displace the satellite from one orbit to another orbit. By gravity means this minus this one. So what is the amount of energy required or work to be done to shift the satellite from one orbit to another orbit? If they ask like that, this is the work to be done. Suppose here height of the orbit is h1, this height of the orbit is h2. Then what is the amount of work to be done to shift the satellite from a height h1 to h2. h1 నుంచి h2 height కి షిఫ్ట్ చేయాలంటే అప్పుడు r1 ఏం రాస్తాం, r ప్లస్ h1 రాస్తాం. r2 ఏం రాస్తాం, r ప్లస్ h2 రాస్తాం. ఈ ఫార్ములాలో r1 ప్లస్ r ప్లస్ h1 రాయండి, ఇక్కడ r ప్లస్ h2 రాయండి. వాడు h2 ఏదో క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేయమంటాడు, లేకపోతే హైట్స్ ఇచ్చాడు కాబట్టి వర్క్ డన్ ఎంత అన్నప్పుడు ఇక్కడ r ప్లస్ h1, ఇక్కడ r ప్లస్ h2, జస్ట్ యూ రైట్, దట్స్ ఆల్. దీస్ ఆర్ ది ప్రాబ్లమ్స్, these are the note points. So based on this one, today you have to do the problems. Okay, right, have a nice day. I'm signing out. Okay Nana, right, bye all of you. What no, here not uf minus ui, it is the total energy. Total energy we have to write, because in case of satellite it is having kinetic energy also. That's why total energy of the satellite we have to write, not potential energy only. Total energy of the satellite we have to consider in its orbit. Okay, ఈ ఆర్బిట్ నుంచి ఈ ఆర్బిట్ లో ప్రొజెక్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం అంటే ఇక్కడ రొటేషన్ చేయాలిగా కంపల్సరీ. దట్స్ వై ఇట్ మస్ట్ బి హ్యావింగ్ kinetic energy due to orbital motion here also. Yeah, time period of the satellite with respect to Earth is 24 hours. Then only the relative velocity of the satellite with respect, relative angular velocity of the satellite with respect to Earth becomes 0. Okay, right, thank you.